it's certainly not a metric that should be given a lot of weight.
Why not?
Because they're unreliable.
Next question. This is Libby Road and the Sound Epistemology podcast. In this series of videos, Rupert and I have been filling out the Street Epistemology Survey, which allows us to explore our relationship with truth. If you'd also like to fill out this survey with your friends, you can find a link to this survey in the description. On this episode, we pull number 13 out of the oven, in which we briefly revisit the confidence scale, discuss admirability, and discover where we agree. Please note that the conversations in this series don't necessarily reflect a typical SE-style interview. We've also linked some great examples of those in the description. It's time for number 13.
Question 13. Believing something without evidence is admirable.
Yeah. I strongly disagree.
Yeah, and I firmly disagree. I think it's a form of delusion.
So let me revisit this. You've got neutral, you've got firmly disagree, you've got you've got neutral, disagree, firmly disagree, and strongly disagree.
Well, I'm nuancing my disagree and my agree levels.
Right. You have an in between those two that you want to use, and that's firmly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with the scale as it is, but I just mean to point out that if we're looking at 0 to 100, that this is closer to strongly than closer to neutral.
You're a higher number.
Lower number, yeah.
Or, a lower number than... It's kind of like with my range, like my strongly disagree goes from, 1 to 19. That's strongly disagree. But I could be at 1 at something and be at 19 at something and still use the same label. But there is some difference in the confidence.
Yeah.
So, why do you disagree that believing something without evidence is admirable?
Because I think it can be a little foolhardy, and I wouldn't agree with using it as a practice. I think there may be instances where it's admirable, so I'm not strongly disagreeing, but I don't think those are very often. I think more often it's probably not a skillful practice to believe something without evidence.
Do you have an example of where believing something without evidence would be admirable?
Yeah, something that causes you to do good in the face of against the odds, so to speak. That'd be admirable.
Well, okay, doing good.
Yeah.
But we're talking about believing something, accepting it to be true.
That's what I'm talking about, yeah.
Yeah.
If that leads you to act in a way that is compassionate towards others, that is accepting, that is patient, that is tolerant, then I would admire that in someone, even if it's false. If they believe something without evidence that is causing them to behave in a way that treats everyone they encounter fairly and positively, then I would have some admiration for that. That's why I don't strongly disagree. I just disagree.
It's more of a pragmatist approach, utilitarian approach.
Yeah. I can see examples of believing something without evidence as being admirable versus not seeing it ever be admirable.
Yeah.
Just because of the effect that has on their behavior.
I'm open to the possibility of believing something without evidence is admirable, I'm open to that. But I strongly disagree, because I don't have a lot of, I can't think of any time where it would be admirable to believe something without sufficient evidence. But I'm open to maybe getting an example of that. We could, that might bring us back to that loaded gun situation where, is it admirable to, but see, I wouldn't believe that the gun is not loaded.
Yeah, you just act as though.
I would behave as though the gun is loaded even if I knew it was not loaded. And
Yeah,
I think that's a difference.
Yeah, you're not believing it's loaded and
I
acting
can't believe.
accordingly.
Yeah, I can't force myself to believe an unloaded gun is loaded. I don't feel like I have that ability.
And that's admirable.
Yeah, but I see the benefits of behaving as though something is not the case because it could save a life or harm. But
we are
there's a
talking
distinction.
about. Well, we're both talking about disagreeing with this.
Yeah.
We're talking about to what level.
Right.
Because let's base it down to believing something without evidence is not really admirable. It can get you in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
It can affect your behavior.
Yes.
And pragmatically, it can be extremely destructive.
Right. We could probably agree that there's more examples of believing something without evidence causing harm than believing something without evidence preventing harm.
Look into that camera. We agree. Yeah, definitely. Not to make light of it, even though I just did.
Yeah.
I absolutely think that's the case. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Next question.
Yeah.
Pregnant
Move
pause.
on.
Sufficient.
That's right.